will be in its original condition. You got to replace the window, you got to replace the door. That is what the court says you have to do for restitution. So then I started to think, though, what if what you lost cannot be bought? What if what happens to you, what if you're the victim of something that money does not replace? Then what happens? And I started to become extremely dissatisfied with the court system and their ability to make somebody whole again. Because throwing money at something, if your car breaks down or if someone vandalizes your car and you get it fixed, that's fantastic. But what if what you lost is your hope? What if you lost your peace? What if you lost your joy? What if you lost your self of sense worth? Then what happens? Not only are you a victim and you have the trauma that goes along with that, but now you are out more than what could ever be repaid. And so I realized that that was not the field for me. But I needed to go and serve a Lord who is extraordinary in his ability to restore. He restores our souls. He restores what we have lost. And he does it in such a way that he goes above and beyond. So the idea of restitution is actually in the Old Testament, and God was showing his nature even here. So the Israelites are coming, Moses gives them the 10 Commandments. The Lord gives him rules for practical guides for living in society. They have to set up a whole new society now that they're not slaves anymore. And this is what he thought was important. And that was very interesting. It says in Exodus 22:1, if a man steals an ox or a sheep and he kills it or he sells it, he has to pay 5 oxen for the ox and 4 sheep for the sheep. Why is that? If you just steal one, you have to pay back 4 or 5. He's going above and beyond, making up and making sure that someone is restored. It says in Exodus 22:7, if a man gives his neighbor money or goods to keep for him, and then it's stolen from the man's house, and the thief is caught, the thief doesn't pay back what he stole, the thief pays back double. We serve a Lord that makes the thief pay back double from what he steals from his children. He is extravagant. Even when they were still under the law, even before Jesus Christ, who is the ultimate Savior, the reason we are restored in right standing to God. Even before that, he was already displaying his nature for being so radically generous. Because God just doesn't want to restore us to our original condition. He wants us to be better and better and better. That's why it's glory to glory to glory. And I saw a couple of examples in the Word that I thought just show how good he is about this. The first one happened with the prophet Elisha. So, backstory, he has this cool relationship with this woman from Shunem. She's a Shunammite. And this woman has money. But what she decides to do with it is to bless and honor him by building a place for him to stay when he's coming through town. So she tells her husband, hey, this is the man of God, I know it. He's speaking God's word, let's bless him. Her husband's like, yes. So they build a place. He's got a place to stay. Elisha's so honored. He's like, how can I repay you? He prays for her. She ends up having a son that she always wanted, and then the son dies. But the man of God is there. So he brings him back to life. So he has this relationship with her where he is honoring her, she is honoring him, and they're doing life together. But yet, because he's a prophet, he has the word of God. So he gets to warn her about a famine that is coming. So we pick up in 2 Kings chapter 8. It says, now Elisha had said to the woman whose son he had restored to life, arise and depart with your household and sojourn wherever you can, for the Lord has called for a famine, and it will come upon the land for 7 years. So basically, he's like, you got to pick up and go. Like, it's not an easy situation. It's not fun. She had money. She had property. She had servants. She had everything. But he says, get up and go, or basically you're going to starve to death. So she listens. Wise. Listens to the man of God. But this is what happens when she finally returns back. At the end of 7 years, when the woman returned from the land of the Philistines, she went to appeal to the king for her house and for her land. Once you abandon your property, someone else took it over. So now you have to basically go back and beg to get your own stuff back. Like, I left, there was a famine, now I'm back, I need my So this is what she has to do. But at the exact time that she is going to appeal to the king is sitting there talking about her and her life and how Elisha had brought her son back to life. And it says here, verse 5, while he was telling the king how Elisha had restored the dead to life, behold, the woman whose son he'd restored to life appeared and appealed to the king for her land. So right at that instant, she shows back up. And when the king asked the woman, and she told him, so the king appointed an official for her, saying, restore all that was hers, together with all the produce of the fields from the day that she left the land until now. Amen. And I read that and I was like, hold up. She didn't just get her property back, she got the harvest. She didn't work the ground. She didn't plant those seeds. She wasn't out there doing it, but yet the Lord saw fit not just to restore back her property and everything she had, but yet she got the harvest too. And I believe that this is a word and a sign for us today, because this is the time where things are happening faster and faster and faster, and God is moving. His Spirit is moving, and He is coming after His children. And I believe that we will begin to see the harvest when we didn't plant the seeds and we didn't water them. We're going to have one conversation with someone. We're going to have one demonstration of this is who Jesus is, and people will know Him. They will repent, and they will call on the name of the Lord, and they will be saved. When we are not the ones who have been praying for them for the past 25 years. God is so good that we are going to receive the harvest without doing the work. I am just so thankful that we serve a God who positions us to receive, even if we weren't the ones that put in the blood and the sweat and the tears, as long as we don't get distracted and we don't get discouraged. We will have our harvest. So, interesting story. I'm in a relationship with someone that runs a nonprofit, and we're friends, but he does not know Jesus, right? So we've been chatting, been hanging out, having meetings, all that good stuff. And interesting enough, this is someone who came from the Muslim religion. He was very strict. He, every few hours he was facing a direction and praying the whole thing. He speaks Arabic and prays in it and all this stuff. Whole thing. So coming out of that and not getting anything from it, he just kind of felt abandoned and just kind of lost. So he was an atheist, right? So we've been hanging out and we've been chatting, and I'm not going to throw Jesus down your throat, but I do have to say how much I love Him and portray Him. That is what I'm called to do. Yes. And so from the very beginning in our relationship, he started saying, I don't like church people, but there's something about you. I don't like religion, but there's something that I see here that I like. I'm not sure what it is, but things don't seem as dark. When your energy is, I feel like it's feeding me. And so, I just take it all in stride. I don't say anything to him, but really I'm like, yes, because this is what it's all about, right? Yeah. So in the beginning, he wouldn't even say God. He would say, there's energy. There's energy here. And the energy speaks to you, and it moves, and it can be the tree. And I was like, no, there's God and there's Jesus. Like, there's no. But I didn't say that. I'm just like, that's what you believe. Okay. And so we have graduated from that point to him not swearing in front of me anymore, which is awesome. He still slips sometimes, but he's trying to keep it together. And now he has put God bless you on the end of his voicemail messages, and now he's acknowledging, okay, there is God. Okay, there's God. But what does this mean for me? So we've been in this kind of song and dance for a little while now, and I just have to testify for just a minute if I could. We were messaging back and forth last night. We had a meeting yesterday, and he tells me that he knows that he's about to finally see things without the lens of doubt that he's had. Wow. And that he feels like the answers that he's always been looking for are going to come through me. And that he knows that he is going to become a better man because of all of this. So I've just been talking to him and just showing him how God is already in his life. God is already speaking to him. God is already encountering him. He just didn't know it was him. So now that he knows God is giving him dreams, now that he knows God is giving him words, he's like, wait a minute. This is real. And I'm like, yes, it is. So I have to tell you, this is the harvest. I don't know who's been praying for him for his whole life.
Yeah.
It hasn't been me. I haven't known him that long. But I'm about to see that harvest. And the kingdom of God is about to grow because he's going after his children with such an acceleration that it doesn't matter who put in the work. We just have to stick with it. We just can't get discouraged. We can't be distracted and stick with it. We got to portray Jesus everywhere. And look what happens. I literally never went into this relationship trying to save him, right? But yeah, God put us together so that he could see who he is, so that his nature could be revealed. And I'm just so thankful. So I encourage you guys, when you're out and about doing whatever you're doing in your own circles and families, keep showing Jesus. Keep showing Jesus, because they're watching and they're listening. And they need to see the truth instead of deception. One thing that almost made me tear up when I talked to him is that I realized how much people don't know God. They don't know him. He wasn't a believer, but he still had his nature wrong. So he tells me, so what? Now we're in all these discussions about everything. So what? So you just sin and then you just say, forgive me? I was like, yeah. He goes, so wait a minute. So what if you sin again and you do the same thing? You just what? Just get forgiven again? I said, that's pretty much how it goes. Oh, okay, that's pretty much how it goes. And he goes, well, that doesn't seem fair. It seems like we should get penalized. It seems like we should be, dinged in our report card or whatever. And I got to explain Jesus Christ and grace to him in such a way that he was like, wait, what? I'm like, yes, really. We don't deserve it, but we get it. We get his forgiveness. We get his love. We get it. We don't deserve it. And we blow it again and again. And this is what I said. God's so good. He was like, huh. And I realized in that instant, even though he didn't know who God was, somehow it had gotten in his mind that he wasn't that nice. And he wasn't that forgiving. And that maybe we had a certain amount of time and a certain amount of leeway to get it right, and then that was it. We've got to keep showing his nature. That means being quick to forgive. That means being unoffendable. That means letting bitterness go to the side, because they need to see the God that we serve. Because he is so faithful, and he's positioning us for his harvest. Because that's just what he does. He's just plain good. So, another example in the Word, how God goes above and beyond with his extravagant generosity. I want to look at Job. Job is so sad. I'll tell you, it's just a sad book, but it's good. It's good in the end. But Job chapter 1. We know Job was the one who was blameless. He feared God. God loved him. But look at all the stuff he had. It says, there were born to him first 7 sons and 3 daughters. 10 kids. That's twice as much as me. That's a lot of kids. Just that. He possessed 7,000 sheep. 7,000. 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 female donkeys, and very many servants, so that this man was the greatest of all the people of the East. So, of course, the enemy's not happy. He doesn't want us blessed. He doesn't want us happy. He wants us, miserable. So, the enemy comes in, and Job ends up having a day of suddenlies that will never be the same. This is the worst day of suddenlies he could have ever had. So it says here, his sons and daughters were drinking wine at the oldest brother's house. The oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabaeans came and attacked and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I'm the only one who escaped to come and tell you. While he's still speaking, here rushes in another messenger. All bad. Fire of God fell from the heavens and burned up the sheep and the servants. The sheep and the servants. I mean, that's just horrific. It's just not a good thing. And I'm the only one who escaped to tell you. While he's still speaking, he can't even get a breath. He's still speaking. Another messenger came and said, your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, and a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the corners of the house, and it collapsed on them, and they are dead. and I'm the only one who escaped to tell you. I tell you, this is a day of suddenlies like no one has ever had. To lose everything you own, not just your property, not just your animals, not just your servants, but your children, all in the same fatal day. But this is what blows my mind. It just blows my mind. Verse 20. At this, he's like, what? At this, Job got up, tore his robe, and shaved his head. And then he fell to the ground in worship. How in the world do you fall to the ground in worship when everything that you have is gone? And he says, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. And in all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. So the enemy doesn't play fair. He wants to ruin him. But yet the one thing he wanted more than anything was Job's heart, and his heart was unwavering. Even after everything that he had, that the Lord had given him and blessed him with was gone, he was unwavering, and he shaves his head and he worships the Lord because the Lord had not changed. His situation had changed, but the Lord and his goodness and his worthiness had not changed. So, the devil's not done. He puts sores all over his body because he's mean and he's horrible. And his wife is like, I'm done with this. You need to just curse God and die. This is horrible. She's like, let's just call it, this is it. This is all. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm still not going to dishonor the Lord that we serve. And I really feel like this is a time where God is speaking to us when we're about to get everything back. I feel like we're in a season where he's coming in with discouragement and with hopelessness. And sometimes the delays in our life make us be discouraged. Sometimes the doors that we thought were going to open, but they didn't, they cause us to lose our hope. Sometimes things not working out, but in our timeline, it causes us to lose our expectancy. But the goodness of the Lord has never changed. And he is a God that restores, and he goes above and beyond to show his heart and to show his nature. And it's not even hard for him. And he loves to do it. It says in Job 42:10, and the Lord restored the fortunes of Job when he prayed for his friends. And the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. So before he was already the greatest man. He already had thousands and thousands of things. But now he has given him twice. It says, and the Lord blessed the latter days of Job more than in his beginning. Now he had 14,000 sheep. What would you do with 14,000 sheep? I have no idea. 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. He also had 7 more sons and 3 daughters, beautiful as Job's daughters. And their father gave them an inheritance along with their brothers. After this, Job lived for 140 years. He saw his sons and his sons' sons 4 generations. And Job died an old man, full of days. It's interesting that the enemy came in and wanted him to be so weakened and be so distraught and to turn his back on God. And he tried everything that he could. And that's what he does. He goes after everything. He tries to go after our finances. He tries to go after our health. He tries to go after our peace. He tries to go after our children. He tries to go after our joy. But that's not the God that we serve. He's not going to let it happen. He comes in and he stands against it and he restores us back to where we were before. But I was once in a situation where God proved to me that he just didn't want to put me back together. He wanted me better than I had ever been in the first place. So probably about, I don't know how many years ago now, maybe 10, probably about 10 years ago, I went through a season of severe depression, severe hopelessness, severe worthlessness, discouragement, fatigue. I was exhausted. I had no joy. I had no peace. I couldn't sleep at night. It was horrible. And this lasted for almost 3 years. And it was horrible. It was the most horrible time of my life. And I remember crying out to God, God, I need you to fix this. I need you to fix me. I remember crying out to the Lord, Lord, I know you hear me. I need you to put me back together. I'm broken. Like, this ain't right. I need you to show up. And day after day and month after month and year after year, it didn't happen. And I just became more and more broken and broken and broken and broken. But let me tell you one thing. You know, the Lord is so faithful. When he showed up in 1 second when I was in the middle of a church service, worshiping. No one prayed for me. No one laid hands on me. No one imparted anything. I just raised my hands to heaven, and there he was. And he said, my daughter, I have freed you. So rise up and grow my kingdom. And that was my commission. And I realized that he was restoring me. And I was going to go and work for him. And that was cool, but that wasn't the real reason. He wanted me put back together again, but yet that's not what he did. Supernaturally, I didn't become who I was before. I became this. And so before, I didn't have joy. Before, I was like, my life was, it was okay. You know, it was okay. Day to day, it was all right. But then when he showed up, all of a sudden I had more joy than I thought was even possible. I was just laughing and laughing and laughing. I had more peace than I have ever had in my entire life. I had felt his presence. I had seen his glory. All of a sudden, he didn't just put me back together. He didn't just want me restored. He made me brand new. He makes all things new. So I want to encourage you, even the things that you may be struggling with that you were born with, he can make that new. Even if you're in a situation where you are constantly disrespected and undervalued, he can make that new. Even if you don't have a clear sense of identity, he can rush in and even make that brand new. He's not just going to put you back together so that you are workable. He's going to bring you to glory. Because that's what he wants for his children. He wants us whole. He wants us healed. He wants us healthy. He wants us full of joy and full of life. And that's what he has done for me, and I believe that that's what he will do for each and every single person that is here. He wants us back together again. But he wants us to be able to look back and say, I wasn't even that person. I look back now and think, that person to me doesn't even seem familiar. It's so strange. And most people that know me now would never guess that that is who I was. But yet God showed up and pulled me out of the pit and set me on a firm foundation. Woo! And everything changed. Amen. That's what he does, and he just doesn't do it for one. He just doesn't do it for a pastor. He just doesn't do it for a daughter. He does it for all of us. Mm-hmm. He does it because that is his heart, and that is his nature. In Acts, there's the story of Peter and John, and they were healing the beggar who was at the temple. And they healed him. But what was fascinating to me is that they said this man was lame from birth. So he didn't just get healed. He didn't just get restored. He came out like that. He came out weak. He came out without strength. He came out less than. He came out deformed. But yet when Jesus and his Spirit shows up, he was better than he had ever been. We have to be encouraged because God sees us and he knows us and he has our full potential in his hand. He's just calling it out over us. He wants to sing it over us. He wants to pull it out over us so that we are not confused, so we are not swayed going to the left and the right, but we're seeking after him while our destiny is revealed. He is such a good and faithful, faithful Father. So tonight, I just want us to really invite him. Invite him into the areas where you need payback. What's the enemy got from you? Has he stolen your finances? Has he stolen your health? Has he stolen your peace? Has he stolen your family? We serve a God that restores. Above and beyond. Far more than we could ever imagine. Josh, come back up, please. So I just want to press into that tonight. You know, when the woman went back to ask for her land, She didn't have to go and beg. She didn't have to go and plead.
Right.
God set it up so that she would get everything back and the harvest. And that's what we're after tonight. We're after getting everything back that the enemy has stolen. So right now, in the name of Jesus, enemy, I say you are put on notice that everything that you have taken from us, you have to restore in his name. Lord, I thank you. I thank you that the enemy has no legal right to your children, to our family, to our stuff, to our emotions. He has no legal right. Right now, he is evicted from each and every part of our lives. We say that he has no place, and we invite your holy presence, Jesus. We just want you. So, Lord, we sit with open hands, and we know you know what we need, and you know what the enemy has stolen. So, Lord, I ask that you pour it out right now. Give us our joy back in the name of Jesus. Give us our peace back in the name of Jesus. God, I ask right now for finances to overflow, that they overflow in your name. So that we are blessed to be a blessing. That we can turn around and pull others out of the pit. Lord, I thank you that you are such a good Father. It grieves you when we are grieved. So we ask that you come and restore us. Make us brand new. God, give us patience that we've never had. Give us expectation that we've never had. Ooh. Let us delight in you like we never have. Let us hunger and thirst for your presence like we never have before. God, we want to go to a new level tonight. So we invite you in to fill us up and to take us higher. Lord, I thank you that your grace and your goodness and your faithfulness, it's never ending, and it goes on and on and on, and we can trust you. So God, even in the wait, we trust you. Even when we perceive a delay, God, we trust you. Lord, we know that you will never leave us, that you will never forsake us, and that you are here right now. So pour out over us. Lord, I thank you that your goodness and your mercy, it chases us down. Restore to us the joy of our salvation. We live for you, Jesus. We live for you, Jesus. Show us how in new ways. Let us represent your heart. Let us represent your nature. Let us show your goodness everywhere we go. God, when we look in the mirror, we want to see you. So make us like you. Lord, we just say that you are beautiful. That you are victorious. That you are powerful. That you have no match and no equal. And we submit our lives and our hearts to you. Lord, I thank you that you see our broken pieces and it doesn't shock you and it doesn't scare you. And you put us back together and make us brand new. So we welcome transformation tonight. We welcome your fire tonight. Purify us. We bless your name, Jesus. Come closer. In your name. Amen.